Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dan Trevidi. I hope you're all well. So, in the news at the moment, the big press coverage is all about the coronavirus and the pandemic or the epidemic that is potentially coming. And it's serious stuff. And all joking aside, all those zombie films and pointless hours spent playing video games and things, it all looks very, very real. But the seriousness of this particular time and potential for the global spread, it does get you thinking. And my wife asked me to go and get a load of bottled water. We drink a lot of water in our house, and we do have a borehole where we can extract water out of the ground, but for whatever reason, if there was no power, there was no electricity, we wouldn't be able to get any form of water. So we've just gone and joined the masses and stocked up on lots of drinking water. I filled my whole boot up. But it did get me thinking, so I put a post on Facebook, and then I thought, well, why not do a video about it? The post that I put was, if cash became completely worthless, and I'm not talking about just the cash that you put potentially under your mattress, but I'm talking about the numbers in the bank account with the zeros behind them. What if the money that we've all been striving for or working for many, many years suddenly became worthless because of a global crisis, like something like the coronavirus, so it could be anything else. It's not important what potentially will happen. What's important, and what this video is about, is the question. And the question has arisen because of the recent crisis. So it got me thinking, what do I own right at this moment in time that could become a commodity to trade with other individuals that could help you to gain things that you don't have to survive for a long period of time? Now, obviously, there's short-term things that are only going to last a short period of time, things like food, things like drinking water that you buy from a supermarket. So even though that they have the ability to be traded, they're not going to last forever. So what do you hold in your possession right now? What assets do you have? What possessions have you bought in the past that would potentially aid you? And it's a subject that we've probably never ever discussed. And it's something that I thought I'd do a video on because it did get me thinking. Now, a lot of friends of mine who are involved in property, of course, they own other properties. So that potentially is tick number one. You'll own other properties and there'll be places for people to live. And you can potentially exchange people living in properties for other things other than cash, if we ever got to the point where cash was completely worthless. But then there becomes the whole lawlessness of the society. How bad would it ever become? And would you ever be able to manage the people living in your house? Or would it be batten down the hatches and you're literally within the grounds that you live in? So those are all various questions that potentially make property not potentially an asset that could be traded or used to trade. So that really then sort of battens it down to, what do you hold in possession right now, or what do you have that could be sustainable in order to trade? And one of the things that I thought of was a borehole. So we've got a borehole here, and it's our own water supply. And we have it filtered and treated so it's drinkable. We also have it go through a softener so we don't get lime scale. It's nice to have a shower in, all those various things, which is great. But the reality is, if we say didn't have a power supply, then I would struggle to extract that water from deep down in the ground. So potentially, if you do have access to a drinking water supply, which is easily accessible, or you have a way of accessing it should things like power not be available, then that potentially could be something that you invest in, that you trade with, and potentially then something to consider investing. Now, I'm not suggesting people down tools on property, and instead of going from buy-to-lets and HMOs, go to digging trenches and wells and artillery cabinets and all those sorts of things. This is a really light-hearted video. This is a really light-hearted subject that I thought probably would be worth having a discussion about. So drinking, everyone's got to drink. You could probably go a couple of days without drinking. So if you can find a way to extract it, I've been thinking about how I could potentially extract it. And I've got a project within the grounds of where I live, where I am building or converting a second barn, and we're actually going to put a solar roof on top of that barn, and that solar roof will generate enough electricity to power where I live, and it will be stored in batteries to be used when it's called upon, and then what's not used is then sold back to the provider. So, you know, it got me thinking, if I did have that already in place, then my borehole would work. So I would then have a commodity like drinking water, clean drinking water, sustainable enough to trade with other people. So that's sort of tip one. What other things? Lots of friends of mine, they don't like to hold lots of cash in the banks. The financial crisis in 2008, and you'll remember it when we had rows and rows of people queuing outside the likes of Northern Rock banks trying to get their money out because the bank was on the verge of collapse. And I'm sure it was many other brands of banks in many other different countries, the same thing was happening. And now, in a kind of strange rule of thumb, lots of people don't like to keep more than £85,000 in a single bank account with a single brand, because the government has underwritten that amount. So anything over that, if your bank was to close, you could potentially lose. So lots of people I know, something that we've considered doing in the past is minimising the amount or maximising the amount of funds held within each account with each bank, and then you start to have multiple bank accounts. But again, there is only so many bank accounts you can have. So friends of mine, they like to buy small assets that they can keep at home. I personally don't do this, but people will stockpile things like gold, silver, platinum, jewelry, watches, you know, those sorts of things that tend to over time hold or even increase their value. But given the situation that we're in, maybe you've given it a second thought. If you had lots of precious metals or gemstones or diamonds or anything like that you had in your possession, these will always have a value. What actual value they'll have when someone is trying to exchange a 1 carat flawless diamond for a pile of drinking water when there is no drinking water available? We don't know. The value of things today might not be the same value they are potentially after a crisis. So that's something to consider. How much value does a diamond have today versus 5 years time down the line when no one particularly wants diamonds? They want drinking water, they want food, they want clothing and things like that. So the perception of value needs to be considered. There is also the factor of how lawless could we actually ever end up? Could it be like in the films where it is every man for themselves? It is literally life or death situations for things that we throw away today. If you believe that could potentially be the case, you may want to consider how you would defend yourself or you defend your family. Now, I'm not saying go out there and buy loads of weapons and illegal equipment, but that may be something to consider. And definitely would be something that would potentially have value when trading with other people, you know, things like that. Very, very off-piece subject. But the real reason for doing this video, the real reason for sort of highlighting this is to go back to that old question, which is exchanging your time for money. Lots of people would have read lots of books about this working for someone else versus making money work for you. And one of the books on the subject, one of the best books on the subject is definitely Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I particularly like the cash flow quadrant version, where it shows you the 4 cash flow quadrants, where you have employed individuals, and then you have self-employed individuals or professionals like doctors and lawyers. Then you have business owners, and then you have investors. That particular version of that book is definitely worth a read. All joking aside, it does bring back that message quite considerably. No matter what you're doing at the moment, if you're working in a job, and whether you've been working there for 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, or you're close to retiring, and you've been working for a pension, or you've been working to save cash, or you've been working to pay off your mortgage, or whatever it may be, and you've been working to the ends of the means of an end to get out of the situation or out of debt, or to be able to retire. What if we did enter a global crisis where what you've been working for your whole life becomes worthless, and what you have in your possession today is the only thing you have to survive, and the only thing you have to survive in the future? That is a really harsh way of highlighting how little you get for years of service for working for someone. Now, don't get me wrong, there's great jobs out there. I once had a great job working for a great company who really looked after me. That made it even more difficult to walk away from that job security. But it wasn't actually job security, it was job imprisonment. They made my job so good, and they made my benefits and the company was so good. It did imprison me because I didn't want to leave. I shouldn't have left. It was providing what I needed at the time, but I wasn't happy going to work and exchanging my time and sacrificing my time, which is my life, in exchange for a paycheck. And the only way to increase that paycheck was to move up the corporate ladder. And the only way to move up the corporate ladder was to work even harder and deliver great results and please the people that were above you to promote you. That just didn't sit right with me. My future and my family's future and our well-being and our ability to do the things that we want to do within our life was being dictated by middle management, not by the owner of the company. It was a huge global company. The owner of the company had no idea I existed. Coming back to the situation that the country and the world is currently in, it just highlights how little value you are actually bringing to what is a very short space of time on this planet. Some of the things that I do, definitely people don't agree with them, and I'm sure for every one person watching this video nodding your head, probably quite nasty things, and that's okay. I'm not going to be everyone's friend, and I'm definitely not going to win everyone over. But because I value my freedom and my time so much, I won't do the physical work on the building sites. I actually can't do it. So that goes hand in hand. Had I have been able to do it, my view may be very different. This is just my opinion. But because I can't do the skilled labour on site, I pay the tradespeople who are good at doing those particular trades. And because I pay people to do that work, I can have multiple trades doing the same work, but on different sites. So I could do multiple projects. By delivering multiple projects, I can speed up the rate of making money per project because I'm making, say, X on one project, but I'm doing 3 or 4 at a time. And by my ability to not go and exchange my time for delivering a result or a skill set or money, I'm able to manage more projects. And being able to manage more projects over a sustained period of time has enabled me to build a property that I live in, to have a portfolio that provides me an income and sustains my lifestyle and my family's. That then frees up more time for me and my wife and my children. We can do lots of things together. We can spend time together. Had I have been working in my old corporate job, I wouldn't have been able to see my children after school, watch them go to school in the mornings, be there at bedtime every single night. I'd be away 2 or 3 nights a week, which, you know, isn't too bad because when everything's being paid for on expenses and you're staying in nice hotels and you're meeting new people, that's all well and good. But my choice was to exit that and build a lifestyle which was far, far more closer to home. And property has enabled me to do that. And my attitude towards exchanging my time for money or skill set or doing physical work myself has enabled me to free up a lot of time to the point where the days are my own. And I'm 35 years old and I've decided to semi-retire. So what does that mean? Well, that means I'm not out every single day hunting down deals and trying to work with investors. I'm doing my own deals at my own pace with investors that, you know, I want to work with. And the ability, the freedom that gives, I have to be honest with you, is well worth it. And there's lots of YouTube videos, there's lots of property people talking on YouTube videos about you must do this, you must go 1,000,000 miles an hour, you must quit your job, you must do no money down deals. There is no must in it. What you should always consider is what is the message being delivered in these videos, and is that message relevant to me, and how real is that message? I watched a YouTube video of an individual. His video was titled "A Millionaire's House," a millionaire's home, and it was a nice home. We walked around and it turns out the individual rented it. And there's a debate within the property world about should you own your own asset or should you rent. My view is very much you should own your own asset, and if you can pay your mortgage down, there is a comfort level, there is a standpoint of living in your own home that you own without a mortgage. There is a barrier of defence there, that if anything ever happened where cash flow stopped or banks came calling or whatever, where your own home is your own, it provides a nice level platform which is very secure and very stable. I personally think that is a very sensible way to live, and I think it should be a goal that people consider in the early days. You do tie up huge amounts of capital, there is no denying it. Could you go and get better returns with that capital? Absolutely. Returns and buying properties is not always the most important thing to individuals. It's the fine balance. So as is starting your journey, people watching this video hopefully won't go, shit, yeah, you know what, if we had a global crisis tomorrow, I've been working in this job all this time and it's not going to serve me. Nothing that I own is going to serve me. Nothing that I've been doing is going to serve me. I'm going to quit. Don't do that. Just consider where you'd like to get to and how your current position, maybe within a job, is going to aid you in getting there. So I didn't leave my job straight away. I actually had a great job and I found it very, very difficult to stop trying to climb the corporate ladder. And it was actually when the corporate ladder climbing got swept from underneath my feet, in my view, very, very unfairly, that I turned my attention very aggressively to property. I'd been involved in it, I'd been doing it as a sideline, but I turned my attention to it and I thought there is no way that my very, very, very young child at the time, I think I only had one, was going to grow up in a family environment where the father was always away and always at the beck and call of someone else. And that's why I turned my attention to property investing. And I had some really, really simple rules. It was always buy something that you could sell short term or rent long term, and regardless of what the first goal was. So if it was to sell, I could rent it, and if it was to rent, I could sell it. Always under promise anyone that you work with. So hopefully when you overachieve, it bodes very, very well. And always be prepared that when things go wrong, because it's not a case of if, it's a case of when. Things will always go wrong. It's how you deal with them. And I'm a big, big believer is that when things go wrong, you can stop them from going bad if you can work to an amicable solution. And sometimes you can't do that and you have to proceed down various lines, but you should always be prepared that things will go wrong and how can you resolve them in the right way. So yeah, that's really it from me. That's my video highlighted by the current coronavirus, which of course is extremely upsetting and unnerving, and it's unfortunate we've had so many deaths and so many cases, and it continues to grow at this moment in time. You know, we hope and we pray that it will be put at bay and it will be stopped in its tracks in its current rate of growth. And all joking aside, you know, this video was triggered from the current crisis, but you know, our thoughts are with everyone who is currently suffering in any shape or form from this current set of circumstances. That's it from me, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to comment about any other video that you'd like for me to do. I'm happy to always bring a new video based on anyone's suggestion or anything that anyone wants to hear about. Don't forget to share across you know, various social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So to keep updated with my daily habits, projects that I'm overseeing, currently involved in, I tend to put loads of pictures and comments and things up. So feel free to follow the links in the comments below to like my various pages. But that's it from me, guys. Stay safe and have a great day. Speak to you soon. Cheers.